to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, recruiting in yoga pants. Alrighty, what a week it's been, y'all. Second week of January. Had high hopes for 2021. Guess that'll teach me. Lower your expectations, Ames. Okay, let's just jump right in. This has been a crazy week for those not here in the US. If you are following US politics, you know what I mean. So that said, we're just gonna get right to the good stuff. I wanted to address something that I get asked about all the time, and frankly, I don't have a good answer for. I have said numerous times on the channel, other places, I don't recruit college students. I don't hire entry level. I don't do campus new grad hiring, but I get asked about it all the time. And so I, wanted to bring something, at the very least, share from my perspective what that does look like. Hopefully give you guys some tips that you can use as you're thinking about your own job search, if you're a new grad, if you're an entry-level job seeker. And then maybe if we have time, we can kind of talk about the things I see job seekers do wrong. So there's a way to navigate this, I think, and I want to try to give you some tips and maybe some things not to do that are just ultimately not helpful and just really going to make you frustrated. So, all right, so let's start with, how does hiring actually happen at the university or entry level level, right? So I'm going to pull out the handy dandy whiteboard here. Means I'm serious, y'all. Pay attention. Okay, so now, granted, I want you to run this, as always, through the truth filter, okay? If this does not resonate with your experience, if this does not equal what you know to be true, by all means, stop watching, turn off the video, go make yourself a drink. It's fine. I don't recruit college, so again, I'm basing this off of what I have seen and conversations I have had with people who do, okay? Also, some things that I know to be true unequivocally from where I've sat as an industry recruiter for 3 major tech companies. Okay, so how do companies hire entry-level grads? Specifically, I'm talking about college students, freshers, that kind of thing. Okay, so there are typically 3 kinds of recruiting teams that exist in some of these larger companies. I think this is pretty accurate for big tech, certainly the 3 companies I've worked at. I think most big companies will have something similar. They may call it something different, but I think the general idea is probably the same. So one of those is, of course, campus or university hiring or university recruiting, or, it goes by different names, right? So that's one. The second is what we call industry. I'll talk about that more in a moment. And then finally, we have our friends in exec. So a company generally is going to hire in one of these buckets. So campus, pretty self-explanatory. This is the actual university hiring. This is the recruiters and the finders and the closers that are coming on campus. Maybe not this year, but in normal times, whatever that is. They're the ones that have the relationship with your career center. So they're the ones that are exclusively focused on filling that allotted headcount that has been preserved for interns and FTEs. So these guys are generally looking for interns as well as that entry-level full-time placement. Okay, so that's where they come in. Industry. This is me, okay? This is where I come in. This is basically your experienced population. These are people who have they're out of school at least 1 year. We'll talk more about that in a moment. They're all the way up through, a lot of times, senior management. You'll find that whole kind of set of levels, if you will, happening in industry recruiting. So industry recruiting often is broken down. You'll have them aligned to certain business groups. You'll have a core corporate roles like finance and HR and marketing. You'll have your engineering discipline, so you might have recruiters that are aligned to specific engineering groups or PM groups or sales groups or things like that. So, but industry kind of covers everything that's not true campus and also everything that's not exec. Exec is exactly what it sounds like, right? This is your executive placement. This is your VPs, your succession planning that's happening. A lot of times these are more, you got a lot of researchers in teams like this. You've got a lot of, kind of high touch, very incredibly low volume, very lengthy recruiting cycle to land that VP, C-suite, CFO, CMO, CEO, as well as sometimes board members will fall under this, or even external agencies will be involved in some of these things. So this is, again, from a corporate perspective, this is what the corporate recruiting team probably looks like. And again, this is specific to larger companies. So smaller companies may do it a little bit differently. You might have one person doing all the recruiting. It depends on the volume and really how many hires they're making in a year. But a lot of you, and this is for you, a lot of you are new grads coming out of school, or you're in your senior year with looking for that CS degree. You want to go into software engineering or some kind of technical discipline. This is for you. Okay, so there are, again, 3 kinds of people that I want you to go after. The networking templates are available for you. You can grab those. Just send an email. Y'all know how to get those, but I'll put the directions down below. And you want to start, first of all, understand, how does the company I want to work at hire? Okay, you need to do your homework on this and see, do they have a dedicated university recruiting team? Let me tell you why this is important, okay? Generally speaking, university hiring is done on potential. Directors, leaders, VPs, I'm talking about business leaders, are looking at their head count for a given year. So they have certain, goals. I need to build this new widget. I've got to ship this new software. I've got to improve this feature, whatever it is. And they know that they need a certain head count to accomplish that goal. They are then going to take that head count and divide that into those buckets we talked about. So a lot of that is going to go to industry hiring. They're going to have a dollar budget. They're going to have a number of heads budget. It varies depending on the company, but they're told, okay, you can go hire 100 people. You figure out what those 100 people look like at the lower levels, but that's what you get. That's your allotted head count for this year. Now, that same team may then get 12 university heads. So they have to decide, okay, I'm going to get 10 full-timers and I'm going to have 2 intern spots. That's how I'm going to use my 12 university head spend. And then maybe there's 1 or 2 exec kind of ongoing leadership roles or conversations that are happening, right? That's, again, a whole nother kind of recruiting. So that spend, if you will, is determined early on. The university headcount is handed over to the university team. The university team says, okay, we know team A needs 12 and it's 10 and 2. Team B is getting 16. They want 12 FTE and 4 interns. Team C is going to load up on interns this year. So each division, each team, each organization is going to have their allotted spend, and that is creating the staffing plan for the university team. So the university recruiters are now going out to their respective schools, reaching out to career centers. They're doing whatever it is they do. This is, again, not my area of expertise. So we'll talk about how to find people who know this stuff. But they're now going out and finding the candidates and the prospective students that fit the criteria. And that criteria could be, a CS degree with an interest in AI, ML, whatever. That's a whole other conversation. But so they have this idea of the kinds of students that they want to attract. And so then they go out to find those students, get them through the interview process, look at former interns, all that kind of stuff, and make those hires. But those hires are done against a certain number of roles that have been basically set aside for university hiring. So what does this mean to a job seeker? Here's where job seekers go awry, okay? So number one, you need to target the people in your dream company, in the organization you want to work to, that actually do university hiring. Okay, if you have identified, especially for larger companies, if you have identified, okay, there is a student programs team, look at their website. You'll see it front and center. Very, very easy to figure this part out. Those are the recruiters you want to be talking to. Find the campus recruiters on LinkedIn, talk to your career center, who does our school have a relationship with, an ABC company, and start forging those connections, okay? Again, the networking templates are available to you. The second kind of person you want to talk to, people who had a similar path. Look for people who went to your school and got that internship 2 years ago, landed that FTE role right out of school 3 years ago, got into your dream company last year, okay? Use that connection, use your shared, hey, we're both grads, University of Wisconsin-Madison, go whatever your mascot is. I can't remember. But so you see where I'm going with this? Because they're going to have a sense of what that path looks like. They're going to be able to say, okay, this is how it happened for me. This is the event that I went to. This is the recruiter that I talked to. This is what the interview process was. So they're going to have that insight. The third person, as usual, is look for those hiring leaders that are doing the kind of work that you want to do. Now, your template is going to be a little bit different, okay? This isn't going to be the usual, like, hey, can you hire someone like me? It's going to be, are you investing in new grad or student hiring or entry-level hiring this year? So you can decide how you want to word that, but you want to ask them, are you investing in this kind of hiring this year? Because university students, new grads, somebody who is less than a year out of college, we're hiring you on potential. We're hiring you because of what you have studied, for what maybe there's some side projects or some internships or some other things that come into, consideration when we're going through the interview process, but we're not hiring you because we expect that you're going to hit the ground running and develop a feature in the first 6 months. You haven't done anything yet. You're literally just out of school or maybe finishing school. It is a hire on potential. That is okay, but you have to figure out how to package up and show your potential to the right people, okay? So we're way over time, but what I want to leave you with, the thing that I see students do wrong is you're spamming everybody and their brother. And I get it, because I don't think there is a ton of clarity out there around this kind of hiring. So you take this shotgun approach where, like, well, hey, Amy seems approachable, I'm gonna just send her my resume, and 47 of you have done that this week. And I appreciate the vote of confidence, but understand that I don't have any authority or say in how our student hiring happens. So I need y'all to be strategic about this. Look for the campus recruiters, look for the companies that have a clearly defined university hiring process. That is going to be the best bang for your buck right there, okay? Now, the final little caveat that I'll give you, one little last note, I know for sure at least 2 of the 3 companies I've been at, this is guaranteed, absolute truth. I'll die on this hill too, okay? If a job seeker has graduated less than 12 months ago, we could not engage with that job seeker. Industry can't touch that person. Okay, so this is an important one. I want y'all to understand this is it's not industry recruiting trying to get in the way. It's just we have these rules, we have these regulations, these expectations, if you will, around our processes and around the way companies have structured their recruiting teams that we don't necessarily get to impact. So before you start, screaming and how unfair it is and all that, understand that these processes have been set up for a reason. They've worked pretty well for the most part. And I just want to help you target your networking efforts, target your resumes, target your relationship building to the right people who can actually get you connected to the opportunities that you are most qualified for. So I hope that helps. This is a long one this week, but there was a lot to unpack here. I will gladly answer any additional questions that you might have. And I will also link to some resources and some people who've done this before and can give you more insights. So as always, leave a comment because I read them all, and we will see you next week.